If you've ever wondered whether you're actually healing or if you're just surviving life a little better than before, or maybe you're not even sure what healing really means, this video will help you make sense of that and give you a clear understanding of where you are in the process. Now, when I talk about healing here, I'm not talking about fixing something that's broken. I'm talking about how we change in the way we relate to ourselves, to other people, and to life in general. Now, people arrive at healing in different ways. Some go looking for it on purpose, through therapy or journaling, reading books, meditations, whatever, or maybe a deep conversation that, cracks something open in them. While others, they don't go looking for it at all. They're just out there, living their lives as best they can, navigating relationships and making mistakes, as we all do, learning the hard way, sometimes whether they wanted to or not. And let's be honest, there's a whole third group of people that don't ever heal their emotional wounds, but that's another topic for another day. Here's the good news. Both of these paths can lead to the same place. At some point, something can shift. Now, I know the word healing gets used a lot, and it can sound like something you're supposed to be actively doing, like a project or a goal you're meant to reach. And even when we use the tools available, and those tools definitely matter, healing rarely follows a nice, neat, straight path. We heal a little, hopefully, and then we often circle back. And this shows up in real life, in relationships, in our reactions, in the moments that we don't expect. Life repeats the same lessons long enough that we finally start paying attention. We notice what hurts, what drains us, what we keep tolerating. But one day, slowly, and sometimes without even realizing it, we respond a little bit differently. Now, healing isn't just what you've learned along the way. It's actually what you stop repeating. And there's an important distinction there. Now, I remember noticing this myself during a conversation with someone that I loved not that long ago. In the past, I would have over-explained myself, tried so hard to fix everything to get a quick resolution to the problem. But this time I paused and I gave them room to process, to respect. I was respecting their boundaries while I was protecting my own. And that was a big shift. Now, sometimes people may quietly ask themselves, am I growing or am I just getting older and tired? Because we all know the old, I'm too old for this drama saying. But it's not just age. It's wisdom. It's paying attention to whatever it is you're going through currently or have gone through in the past. And as I've said, learning doesn't mean that you never go back to old habits. It means that you notice sooner and you pause earlier. You recognize yourself faster when something doesn't feel right or goes off course. Staying stuck usually looks like the same reactions, the same explanations, and the same outcomes, just with way more frustration. Growth is quieter than we expect. It often doesn't feel dramatic at all. It can actually be quite sneaky. Sometimes that healing is happening, even if it doesn't feel impressive, are things like you have less tolerance for chaos. You're tired of explaining yourself or trying to feel understood. You don't feel the same pull towards things that once excited you. You're more aware of what drains you and more protective of yourself and your energy. And healing often feels less exciting, for sure, but it also feels way more honest. And it isn't just emotional or psychological. There's also something more profound happening that's harder to explain, but still very, very real. At its core, healing is about coming back into alignment between your mind, your body, and something deeper within you. Some people call it that connection spirit. Some call it connecting with your soul. Some don't know how to describe it. They just feel that something. When that alignment starts to happen, you notice you're not bracing yourself at the same moments that you used to, especially with certain people or certain situations. You're not pushing or forcing change. Something inside you settles enough for you to actually hear yourself and hear what really matters to you. You get to see who you really are beneath all those life experiences. And that's why healing can feel like both a relief and very uncomfortable at the same time. You're not just changing habits, you're releasing ways of being that once kept you safe. You like staying quiet to keep the peace, or overgiving to feel secure or loved or wanted. Sometimes we ignore discomfort because it feels easier than dealing with whatever's going on. And for some of us, that can even bring up a deeper question. not everyone asks it, but some of us do. Like, how do I hold my past without hating myself for it? Healing changes that relationship too. You start to take responsibility for your choices without turning them into a life sentence. You can still see where you maybe stayed too long or ignored yourself, but you now know that you didn't know what you didn't know, and there's an understanding there. You begin to realize that many of the things that you once called mistakes were really just lessons, not because they were easy or painless, but because they shaped you. They taught you discernment, boundaries, self-trust. They were part of your growth. And that, as that perspective widens, something shifts. And you stop needing to prove yourself. You stop chasing what looks good from the outside. What matters to you becomes so much clearer. And what doesn't just kind of quietly falls away. And that's not going backwards. That's real growth. And that process doesn't just affect your emotions. It affects your energy, your relationships, your sense of purpose, and the way you move through the world. Healing is your system remembering how to feel whole again. Not perfect, not fixed, but more integrated than before. And here's something people don't talk about enough, I think. When you change, life around you can start to feel unfamiliar. And when I say unfamiliar, I don't mean dramatic. I mean, you start to feel out of sync with things that you kind of used to move through on autopilot. And honestly, for me, this part was pretty scary. But you notice more, you tolerate less. Sometimes that leaves you wondering how you fit in now with everything. And this can show up in your relationship, in your work, and even in your sense of direction. And it's also important to clarify that healing isn't linear. We don't go from wound to scar to heal. That's not how it works. I wish it was. In my own experience, like in relationships, for example, I think I learned the lesson and moved on, but then the universe, it seemed, had one more test in there for me. Not just to punish me, I know now, but to confirm my growth. And eventually, I got there. This is actually what this series is about. Healed but still human. What healing looks like in real life. Not as a concept, but as something we live through unevenly, honestly, and imperfectly. Some people call this healing. Some people call it awakening. I personally think there's a difference there, and I'll dive into that more deeply in another video maybe. But whatever you want to call it, I think it's the moment you stop betraying yourself just to stay comfortable. Because growth is hard. Change is hard. And there isn't a moment when you arrive and suddenly everything makes sense. Healing is much quieter than that. It's slower than that. It's noticing yourself, your reactions, your triggers, your patterns, and choosing differently when you can. Now, we'll keep exploring this topic in my next video in this series. Probably why healing can feel uncomfortable even when it's working. I'll upload that in a few days. And in the meantime, I hope this helped you. I hope something, that you've been feeling, that you're feeling heard, and know that you're not alone in this. And this is a process. And if you're going through it, it's difficult, but it's so worth it. Hang in there, keep learning, keep watching videos, keep reading, keep meditating, keep journaling. And, if this meant anything to you, I really appreciate a like, and maybe you could share it with someone who might resonate with it as well. In the meantime, check out some of my other videos on growth and healing. And I hope to see you here again. Peace and love.